Yeah, for someone who was on the fence, and as you know, David, when we first spoke, I had spoke to other competitors of yours, and the one burning question I asked, well, what makes Fast Track so special? And your response was the community.
Mhm.
Wow. And 100% it's the community. You know, it's a team. It's just a complete team, and everybody is there to help everybody else win, which is what I love about it.
Before you joined Fast Track, what was your experience in DeFi like?
I had zero experience in DeFi. Had belonged to other groups for maybe a year, a lot of Discord groups, for a long time. And I learned more here in 12 weeks than I probably did in the space of a year or 2 years. You know, so it's been completely invaluable. It's
That's
it's
awesome.
literally it's life changing.
So, Danielle, now that you've been in Fast Track for just over 3 months now, what is your DeFi portfolio and cash flow looking like?
We're starting to run it now as a business, you know, whereas before we had no idea what we were doing, you know, so now we have a strategy in place. You know, the coaching has been first class, absolutely first class. You know, yourself, Sean, Gordon, it's the knowledge you guys have is just it's unreal. Um, so we're now looking at it as a business and generating that business in the cash flow. So I think they're just the other day, obviously OVM basically paid for our fast track, you know. So the initial goal, the initial strategy was to recoup your initial investment into fast track, and it paid for our fast track. So now we're just into a lot of full range pools, index funds, lending and borrowing. Whereas I remember, I think on one of our early calls, you had mentioned the lending and borrowing. I was like, ooh, ooh. You know, 'cause I just didn't know enough about it, and now I'm a lot more comfortable going, right, okay, well, we could do this. You know, we could lend this to borrow USDC to go into pools or to buy more
Mhm.
tokens or coins, you know. So I'm learning so much, and it's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, I would say so. There's always something more to learn in crypto and DeFi, but what would you say is the biggest thing that you learned in Fast Track?
I think probably the basics. You guys give so much detailed information and the step-by-step guides, you know, on how to use different platforms, different strategies, you know, depending on your risk tolerance, you know, where you could potentially go into what to avoid, you know. Whereas before we were just blindly following
Yeah.
YouTubers that were selling coins, you know. Whereas now we can do our own research. We can go to, if we're looking at maybe full range pools on Airdrome, go over to doing Dash and have a look and see how the bribes are going. And, you know, I wouldn't have had a clue how to do any of that. I think all of the educational aspects of the fast track was most valuable for me. For somebody coming in as a complete beginner into the world of DeFi, it just took you step by step through it. And that's what I found most valuable. I also loved our calls, our weekly calls. Don't get me wrong, the first few weeks, you could have
I
been speaking
remember.
gibberish. Oh, and I just felt like sending in those mind blown emojis, you know, and it was just but comfortable. Like I was going, well, I know what this is, you know, and it's only now I'm even getting more comfortable that if someone asks a question in our chat, I'm comfortable enough to answer. Whereas before, I was like, no, I'm afraid in case I say the wrong thing. So it's helping in my confidence to grow,
Mhm.
definitely.
You know, Danielle, if someone's on the fence about joining Fast Track, what would you say to that person?
Do it, you'll not regret it.
Thank you.
For
It's a
somebody
huge
who
vote
was
of
on the fence,
confidence.
yeah, for someone who was on the fence, and as you know, David, when we first spoke, I had spoke to other competitors of yours, and the one burning question I asked, well, what makes Fast Track so special? And your response was the community.
Mhm.
Wow. And 100% it's the community. You know, it's a team. It's just a complete team, and everybody is there to help everybody else win, which is what I love about it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I would say so.
You're
That's
welcome.
that's the real value is the
Yeah.
community, is the group of people.
Mhm.